as he stood up to hear the verdict. Both of Umar Zameer's defense lawyers, Nader Hassan and Alexandra Haynes, standing on either side of him with their hands on his shoulders. And as the words "not guilty" were read out in court, Zameer physically collapsing into tears and audible sobs. He was hunched over, his lawyers having to really hold him up. And throughout the packed courtroom, there were cries and sobs and gasps. Margaret Northrup, Detective Constable Jeffrey Northrup's widow, was also in court today hearing that verdict, and you can imagine it was emotional for her as well. She's been sitting in on this trial almost every day, and she was hoping for a different outcome. So she as well crying, and supported by her support system, which also included today the Chief of Police, Myron Demkew, as well as Sergeant Lisa Forbes, who was Northrup's partner and who also testified in this trial. So emotional day to say the least, and all of this after a month-long trial and, as you mentioned, more than 2 days of deliberation.
I thought I and Ida made a wrong decision when we thought we should go to Canada. It's a better place for our kids. But I think today I see that Canada didn't let injustice to happen. So I thank Canada.
The public hearing Umar Zameer speak for the first time this afternoon. A jury acquitting Zameer of first-degree murder in the 2021 death of Detective Constable Jeffrey Northrup. Zameer's defense attorney, Nader Hassan, saying today is not a day for celebration, but relief that the justice system worked.
Because it wouldn't have done any good at all to brand Mr. Zameer a criminal. He is not a criminal. This was an unfortunate, terrible situation that happened, and as a result, an unfortunate, tragic death ensued, but it was not intentional. It was not a criminal act. It was an accident.
Following the verdict, Toronto Police Chief Myron Demkew and Northrup's widow Margaret both expressing disappointment in the outcome.
From day one, all I've wanted is accountability. We miss Jeff every day. However, we continue on with him in our hearts, never to be forgotten. A hero in life, not death.
While we respect the judicial process and appreciate the work of everyone involved in this very difficult case, I share the feelings of our members who were hoping for a different outcome.
Northrup died after he was run over by a vehicle in an underground parking garage at City Hall just after midnight on July 2nd, 2021. During the trial, prosecutors alleged that Zameer deliberately drove dangerously while there were people nearby and intentionally drove at Northrup, who they say was standing at the time. The defense argued that Zameer did not intend to kill anyone and behaved reasonably in the face of what he thought was an immediate threat to his family, as a man and woman who he didn't know rushed up to his car and banged on it, while another car, which court heard was an unmarked police van, blocked them from leaving. Collision reconstructionists testified that Zameer would not have seen anything in front of him as he drove forward, with Northrup having fallen to the ground and out of view. Hassan commenting that this trial has brought renewed attention to police conduct when approaching civilians, particularly when officers are in plain clothes.
Look, I do think that this case will mark a teachable moment for many police agencies, for many Canadians, about how we want police to act, how they should act, especially when they're in plain clothes. I think that inquiry needs to be done. I think that some soul searching needs to be done on the part of many folks who were involved in this particular investigation and case.
Now, lawyers for the Crown did not speak following the verdict, but Crown Attorney Michael Cantlin did give a very brief statement, and I'll read it to you now, Brandon. It says, on July 2nd, 2021, Officer Jeffrey Northrup was killed serving our community. The events surrounding his tragic death warranted a trial to determine accountability. We want to thank the jury for their dedication and hard work over these last 5 weeks. We have great faith and respect in the justice system. And one other thing to note, Brandon, before rising to leave, Justice Anne Malloy telling Zameer, quote, "deepest apologies for what you've been through."